Hello, dear friends. It has always been discussed about the evil or goodness of dragons in each culture and legend, but it seems that there is everything like in a pharmacy, just as there are good and bad people. Although, according to the messages from heaven, it seems that most would be positive and only a minority would be regressive. That bad minority is the one that populates the Western legends, because the Eastern legends are another story. The subject is so topical that even the experts and the newspapers are talking about it. I have always been fascinated by these powerful and majestic creatures. Opinion article: Do dragons exist? A renowned expert believes so. They are mentioned 35 times in the Bible. There are bones that are not dinosaur bones. Tom Meyer told the Daily Express. Meyer is a personal friend of Chuck Norris. The Chinese value having a Jade Dragon. In the Himalayas, they represent good luck. In Rome, it was a symbol of power and wisdom. The Chinese venerate 9 positive dragons. Golden dragons are righteous and kindly. The Vikings carried out the dragon sculpted on their prow. Siegfried slew a dragon in the Song of the Nibelungs. Saint George and the Dragon is the most famous story in the West. The Apocalypse refers to Satan as the great dragon, the ancient serpent. Let's start. Dragons appear in myths and fictions in cultures around the world, although they are believed to be nothing more than that. One expert believes that biblical text combined with Roman historical accounts may prove that dragons once coexisted with humans. He said, a re-examination of the chronicles of ancient Roman historians and the Bible may show that dragons were actually contemporaries of mankind. Thomas Mitchell Meyer, professor of biblical studies at Shasta Bible College and Graduate School Library, a private college and graduate school in Redding, California, asserts that this is no mere coincidence, but rather one of many pieces of evidence that dragons once roamed the earth. He told the Daily Express. Many archaeologists have unearthed giant bones that have nothing to do with dinosaurs, and witnesses have even recorded strange dragon-like flying creatures in our skies, which can be found in some YouTube videos. Professor Meyer, who has memorized 20 books of the Bible and it is known as the Bible Memory Man, is confident that there is historical evidence to back up this amazing theory, he told Britain's Daily Express newspaper. A re-examination of the chronicles of ancient Roman historians and the Bible may prove that dragons were in fact contemporary with mankind, in quotes, said Professor Meyer. Dragons are mentioned 35 different times from Genesis to Revelation. Modern mythology. Modern mythology has repeatedly employed the symbol of a dragon, extending its survival in the collective imagination. It was also used its image by reducing it to a powerful, almost invincible monster. From Tolkien works to the immensely popular Game of Thrones, dragons are an enduring symbol of the fantasy genre. Although their origin is unclear, stories of dragons have been told for centuries in Europe, Asia and the Middle East, and even ancient Egypt, where a serpent-like creature named Apep battled the sun god Ra. In Norse mythology, the Midgard serpent was born of the trickster god Loki and fought the mighty Thor in Ragnarok, the end of the world. The Leviathan. For example, a primeval monster known as the Leviathan appears in the Book of Job. Professor Meyer compared the beast to a fire-breathing kraken that has been described as a dragon that dwells in the abyss of creation. Revelation refers to Satan as the great dragon, the ancient serpent. The expert added, in quotes, "Even if we don't know everything there is to know about the different types of dragons mentioned by ancient Roman historians in the Bible, and can categorically state that dragons and human beings coexisted." For the Christian culture, the dragon symbolizes evil and destruction. It becomes a very intelligent animal to be eliminated. There are several examples, such as the Archangel Saint Michael fighting the dragon, or the dragon revolting against Saint George's spear. In the pattern of the hero's journey, dragons represented the obstacle of fear and the necessary step to return home. As many dragons are also presented as the embodiment of wisdom in those traditions slain, one not only gave access to its riches, but also meant that the knight had defeated the most cunning of all creatures. Another facet of the dragon in the classic mythology of the chivalric era is the dragon as a guardian who guards or kidnaps princesses in their castles, or guards great treasures. Man-eaters. Thus, in the beginning, dragons were the bearers of gods. Later, dragons were forces to which maidens were offered in sacrifice. It was not long before they were conceived as man-eaters. The most famous of the dragon stories is that of the dragon slayer Saint George, whose story took place in the late 3rd century after Christ. Although the story of Saint George and the dragon has had some fictional additions over the centuries, as the story goes, a beleaguered community offered cattle sacrifices to a dragon to gain access to their only source of water. But when the cattle ran out, the people resorted to sacrificing their own children. On the day St. George appeared, the princess of a royal family was to be sacrificed, but St. George slew the dragon as a sign of gratitude for the heroic act the king ordered to the city to convert to Christianity. History. Cicero wrote of flying serpents being blown to Egypt from the Libyan desert by the south winds. Hundreds of years later, the Roman historian Ammianus Marcellinus also mentions winged armies of serpents appearing in the lands of Arabia. The Romans considered the dragon as a symbol of power and wisdom, as did the Insta people. Professor Meyer said that the Roman historian Cassius Dio mentions that one day when Regulus, a Roman consul, was fighting against Carthage, a dragon suddenly approached and settled behind the wall of the Roman army. The Romans killed it on Regulus' orders and sent the skin to the Roman Senate. For the Celts, the dragon was a divinity of the forest, whose strength could be controlled and used by the wizards. Among the Celtic conquerors of Britain, the dragon was a symbol of sovereignty, and during the Roman occupation of the island, it adorned the war banners, thus becoming a heraldic and then military symbol. The Vikings adorned the figurehead of their ships with a wooden sculpture in the shape of a dragon. They use this decoration in the belief that in this way they would frighten the spirits that guarded the coasts they reached. Dragons also appear in Germanic poems. In Beowulf, an Anglo-Saxon epic poem, the oldest surviving, a man named Beowulf, who had rid his people of a monster, half man, half devil, or later made king, fights a dragon, a dispute in which both die. In the Song of the Nibelungs, an anonymous medieval epic poem, Siegfried also slays a dragon named Fafnir, and by anointing himself with its blood, becomes immune to all evil. Germans are still searching for the famous treasure of the Nibelung light. For much of history, dragons were thought to be like any other mythical animal, sometimes helpful and protective, sometimes dangerous. However, Pleiadian messages identify dragons with the Alpha Draco species, not Draconians, which are evil, which is benevolent for the most part, although there may be a minority of regressive dragons. Traditions. There are two main dragon traditions: the European dragons, derived from the European folk traditions, and the Greek and Near Eastern mythology, and Eastern dragons of Chinese origin, but also known in Japan, Korea, and other Asian countries. The two traditions probably arose independently, but have influenced each other in their development. During the time of the Crusades, it was possible to find dragon remains in markets and other exhibition places in Europe, which were actually crocodile remains from Egypt, Arabia, and Asian countries. However, in today's Chinese medicine, supposed dragon remains are still sold with miraculous medicinal properties. In the West, the symbolism surrounding the dragon is essentially one of struggle. However, the fight between the dragon and a hero or a god has different meanings. In this mythical combat, the dragon assumes two roles, that of the devourer and that of the guardian, which ultimately have only one root, that of the cosmic being in waiting, whose action implies the death or the birth of a universal order. In the Middle East, the figure of the dragon symbolized evil and ruin. In the Enuma Elish, an epic written about around 2000 before Christ, the goddess Tiamat was a dragon symbolizing the oceans and commanding the hordes of evil, whose prior destruction was necessary to create a new ordered universe. Far East. In the peoples of the Indus Valley, the dragon is identified with Agni, personification of the sky, who, with innumerable eyes, watches over and protects those who ask him for help. That is to say, with the origin and the beginning of heaven and earth. In the Himalayas, dragons represent good luck. Chinese, Japanese, and Korean dragons are seen as benevolent beings, while European dragons are mostly malevolent. The Chinese are crazy about having a Jade Dragon because they say it brings good luck. The Jade Dragon is a creature that provides protection against negative energies and evil spirits. It represents protection, success, abundance, prosperity, and good fortune. It's an amulet which, in addition to protecting you, allows you to attract good luck into your life. Historically, dragons were associated with the Emperor of China. They were used as a symbol to represent the imperial power, while in European culture they were considered as fire-throwing animals, and of great danger because of their size. Despite this, some people believe that they are very lucky at the gambling tables. Oriental dragons are part of Feng Shui and carry yang energy. There are many figures of these creatures, but the most important for players are the green and yellow ones, as they symbolize wealth and prosperity. The Jade Dragon is one of the most sought after, as it attracts money. In addition, the Chinese, who are among the most superstitious people in the world, have always considered dragons to be guardians of treasure and wisdom. In many Eastern cultures, dragons were, in some cults still are, revered as representatives of the primal forces of nature and the universe. In the East, the dragon has always been considered a beneficent creature and a symbol of good fortune. 9 Chinese dragons. The 9 Chinese dragons are one of the most important Oriental legends within the dragon mythology. In the East, the vision they have of dragons is different from that of the West, as I have said already. Eastern dragons are benevolent beings that protect the earth and all beings living on it. Eastern dragons are mostly water dragons, although they could soar through the sky with agility, even though they do not have wings. Oriental dragons are made up of 9 animals. The number 9 is for Chinese culture a symbol of luck, and dragons are closely related to this number. That's why they have the idea that this magical being brings luck. The Temple of Heaven in Beijing has a circular altar formed by 9 circles. The Buddhist book where its construction is described explains that 9 stone plates were used for its construction. In general, for the East, the number 9 is a symbol of good omen. They consider it a number of good auspicious number. And there is also talk of the Dragon King, the divine ruler of the ocean. He is said to live in a crystal palace deep in the ocean. He has the ability to become human and go unnoticed among them. He is the divine ruler of the 4 Chinese seas and also rules the weather, so he is approached with offerings when rain is needed. Description. Unlike their Western congeners, Eastern dragons do not spit fire, nor they have wings, although they can usually fly thanks to magic. They are more similar in appearance to the fetid serpent of the myths of the pre-Hispanic peoples of Mesoamerica. A typical dragon of the East has deer horns, a horse head, a snake's neck, eagle's claws, bull's ears, and long whiskers like those of catfish. In Chinese legends, there are dragons that watch over the skies or bring rain or control rivers and streams. In Japan, they are attributed to be wise king and also ready to help. Dragons have been, for centuries, the official emblem of the imperial family. Chinese and Japanese dragons symbolize supreme spiritual power, earthly and heavenly power, knowledge and strength, and are therefore benevolent. The dragon is the most ancient insignia of the art of these countries. They bring health and good luck and live in water. According to ancient Chinese beliefs, they bring rain for harvesting. That's why the dragon became the imperial symbol of that country. Golden Dragon. According to the Eastern beliefs, golden dragons are known to be intelligent and kind beings. Unlike other dragons, they do not seek material wealth or treasures to keep. For them, wealth is in knowledge. They may be the most intelligent dragons of all, and to say that is saying a lot, since one of the most important qualities of these mythological beings is their intelligence. They would have the ability to change their appearance. They could pass themselves off as human beings or as an animal, whenever they want and very easily. But they do not usually hide their original dragon form, as they are very arrogant. They consider that impersonating an inferior species is not worth it. That inferior species would be us according to them. Golden dragons do not usually use to fight. Of course, they do not hesitate to use it if necessary, but they prefer to use magical and spells to defeat their enemies. For this reason, they would be experts in these esoteric arts. They say that the golden dragons know 1,000 years old spells from when magic was born, and they would be the only guardians of these secrets. They can live anywhere they like. They only need a cave where they can shelter from prying eyes and be in place where they feel comfortable. It would be normal for a golden dragon to be close to a giant. Both protect and complement each other, respecting each other's place, of course. They avoid places where they can be seen. They are solitary beings and tend to change home quite often. As I have already said, they are very intelligent and perceptive, so they need to discover new things all the time or they get bored, just like many human beings. They are also known to be advocates for what is just. If you are in an unfair situation, you would do well to call one of them. In mythology, they always appear as the best advisors for this kind of problems. Their intelligence and cunning make them a peaceful solution to any problem of this nature. They do not like to fight and avoid it whenever they can. America. Most authors call Mesoamerican dragons serpents, but since the word dragons means snake, the term Nahuatl called coatl can be taken as dragon in the case of the mentioned mythological beings, instead of the literal meaning of snake, to differentiate them from snakes and vipers, to which they all meanings are attributed. Around the Andes, it was believed in the power exercised by the serpents of the maritime abyss and the splendorous mountain. They were creatures of great proportions, also considered dragons. For example, those venerated in the central Andes differ from those in the far reaches of the Inca Empire. The beasts of most of South America were broadly related of huge serpents dating back to the origins of mankind, coinciding with other regions of the planet. But unlike the old world, these dragons do not present uniformity in their predominant characteristics, nor in their attitudes, even though they have similar aspects. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends, and be happy.